The race for the U.S. Senate seat formerly held by Dianne Feinstein pits three prominent Democrats against each other, all of them currently representing California in Congress. Congressman Adam Schiff is best known for taking on former President Trump in two separate investigations, but much of his work has been centered here on California. We caught up with him in his home district in Los Angeles in a park that highlights part of his record. This is really a beautiful park.
It's spectacular. This was the home of our beloved P-22, the most famous Los Angelino, our mountain lion, but it is also the home of the iconic observatory.
We're seeing right up there.
Yes.
For Congressman Adam Schiff, spending time in Griffith Park is both professional and personal.
My wife and I love to hike here.
He's also working to secure $4.5 million federal dollars to maintain this park. And the terrain here is a reminder of the state's risk for wildfires.
You actually worked as a firefighter. How does that inform the work that you're doing on fire prevention?
I did. For a brief time between college and law school, I was a U.S. Forestry Service seasonal firefighter, and I certainly developed a profound respect for fire, for how powerful and how dangerous it can be, but also for the men and women that fight fire.
It was a different type of heat, a political firestorm that launched Schiff into the national spotlight.
President Trump thus warrants impeachment and trial.
Schiff served as the lead manager in President Trump's first impeachment trial.
You can't trust this president to do the right thing, not for 1 minute, not for one election, not for the sake of our country.
And as a member of the January 6th committee, Schiff investigated Trump again, this time looking into whether the former president incited the attack on the U.S. Capitol.
Intelligence about this risk was directly available to the U.S. Secret Service and others in the White House.
As a senator, do you anticipate that you may be in that role again?
I sure hope not. I hope not for the country's sake. I hope that we have a president like our current president who is respectful of the rule of law, who will safeguard our institutions, but should the need arise, I'll stand up to anybody that threatens to take down our democratic system or be a dictator on day one.
His work challenging Trump in Congress has also come at a price.
But the House of Representatives censures Adam Schiff, representative of the 30th Congressional District of California.
Last summer, Schiff became only the 25th member of Congress to be censured. The vote was straight down party lines.
Can you work with Republicans after that vote?
You know, that was a vote driven by Donald Trump. Like so much else, he threatened Republicans. But even through the worst of it, through the worst of the Trump years, I managed to work with a Republican to get the intelligence bills done every year. I managed to work with Republicans to get mass transit built, to invest in science and space. So yes, I have had a long partnership with any number of Republican members. That partnership continues.
After serving as a federal prosecutor in Los Angeles, he became a state senator in 1996. His work in Sacramento included authoring the Patient's Bill of Rights, but he's also been criticized for policies that increased criminal penalties.
Like many Democrats, I also supported tough on crime measures in the 90s, which I don't think worked. And I certainly don't have that approach today. That is, I think we reserve the strongest penalties for those who commit the most violent crimes.
He served in Congress since 2001 with a wide range of work.
Earthquake.
From our state's early warning system for earthquakes to chairing the House Intelligence Committee.
First of all, housing, I think, is the #1 crisis in the state. In order to address it, we need to build a lot more housing. We need to build hundreds of thousands of units just in California.
And how would you do that?
I would do it by dramatically expanding something called the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit. That's a federal tax credit that incentivizes people to build affordable housing.
Schiff is a vegan and an avid cyclist. This is from the 550-mile AIDS life cycle. He and his wife Eve, Adam and Eve, have 2 kids. Their daughter Lexi works for a celebrity booking agency, and their son Eli is in college. And he says his own mom and dad helped shape his approach to politics.
Do you feel like having a Democrat mother, a Republican father kind of made you more of a centrist?
I think it helped me understand that there are good people on both sides of the aisle, and we need to work together to solve problems. Should we take a picture together?
In this statewide race, Congressman Schiff says he looks to the example set by the senator he hopes to succeed. In fact, he worked with Senator Dianne Feinstein on bills to preserve open space in the region around this park.
I would love to represent all areas of the state. The Central Valley, for example, is in substantial need of help with clean water, with expansion of broadband access. Rural hospitals throughout California are in crisis of sitting down with parties the way Senator Feinstein did to get to yes on solutions for the state. That's really what excites me about running statewide.
Congressman Schiff has a substantial list of endorsements, including more than 3/4 of California's Democratic congressional delegation and former Senator Barbara Boxer. As for the other leading candidates, we have interviews scheduled with Congresswomen Katie Porter and Barbara Lee over the next 2 weeks. We are airing those as the campaigns are making the candidates available. And our profile of Republican candidate Steve Garvey aired last night, and that's available on KCRA.com. Also coming up Tuesday at 6, a 1-hour debate with those 4 leading candidates. The debate is hosted by NBC and Telemundo stations in Southern California, and KCRA3's Ty Steele will anchor our coverage from Los Angeles on debate night.